think I did it.
Yeah, you did.
Oh.
Hi. Let me get taller.
Did I do it right? I think I did.
I think you did. I think you're winning.
This is the first time I've used this. I'm like, now I don't old man.
Uh, I know, and you're of the age you should be using this stuff, right?
Oh.
This is for your people.
Yeah, I'm like Instagram Live, Instagram TV.
Hi guys. Hi everyone. Look how cute your background looks. I'm in my husband's man cave, so everything behind me is nothing I'm into, just in case anyone's wondering.
Don't play foosball on the regular?
No. Hi, Jacqueline. Yay! The gang's all here.
They are.
All right.
You have no idea how many times that I wanted to get in my car and drive to come see you. But I was like, nope, I can't do it. We're all in this together.
Thank you for being a reasonable person. It's been hard. We've gotten there's been a lot of peer pressure from some clients, and it's really and it's hard too because stylists are struggling for money, so it's a whole weird thing, and it's like, you can argue it either way too. Like,
Yeah.
if you're struggling for money, what you're going to starve to death or die of COVID. So it's a really hard ethical call. I think too, on a lot of the social media sites, there's been a lot of shaming for people sending color kits or doing house calls. And I'll mention this quite a few times, that my biggest takeaway is we're not walking in anyone else's shoes but our own. And even though we're united as an industry, there's still such a different story for each individual at home in what they're up against.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, give me we're now a month in, right? A little over a month.
I think 2 months.
Or
40 days, right?
Yeah, exactly. It feels like 2 months. It feels like 6 months actually. But how's salon life? Give me how are you feeling? How you're stylist? You're obviously I'm sure you're getting reached out to from clients. What's going on?
It's complicated, and especially from East Coast to West Coast, those are dramatically different experiences. That is what I've learned.
Yeah.
I think our New York crew obviously is just been hit harder than anyone else in our country. And they have a whole different experience that I don't think is incomparable to anybody else's in the US. And their needs are different. They're where they're at mentally is different. So, early on in messaging, I've always tried to keep a uniform messaging between both salons. And a lot of what I was proposing or putting out there was not met with open arms. And I quickly realized, damn, okay, they're going through. Elvira's my general manager, and we're like, okay, so how do we handle New York differently than we do LA? With different kinds of sensitivities. So that was one thing. And there was more just tell us how we can help you guys, and just keeping an open dialogue. I think that's been, for both locations,
what would
been
you
really
say,
important.
the difference in the New York versus LA from the stylist? Was New York far more panicked, or were they much more
Yeah.
this, or
Yeah, because it's way worse in New York. You know, it was just a handful of the staff left the city right away, which, you know, for them was probably a really good idea. Um, and it, yeah, it's just a lot more depressing, a lot more heavy, and in a much tighter area and a lot more in their face.
yeah,
So that just heavier hearts for my New York team. And it's been so hard not to be able to just go out there and help and go out there and do anything because that's all I know how to do. So it's been a big learning experience for me of just being patient, quiet, calm, things you would never describe me as. So,
right.
you know, just kind of like sitting in the helplessness of it and you know, just trying to be compassionate and be there if in any capacity, be it nothing or, you know, somebody to vent to or whatever.
Yeah, I imagine that the one of the worst parts about it is just like the the unknown, right? Of when
Yeah.
they're coming back. If we at least just knew a date when everything was gonna be somewhat back to normal, like I think it'd be so much more digestible. But like it's indefinite, right? So it's
But
figure
there's
out.
that thing too that like I remember, you know, when we were closing it down, I was like, all right, 2 weeks, here we go.
Right,
And there's something kind of great in that too. Because I don't know. I think it would have been completely overwhelming if it was like, all right, 2 months, you know,
right,
and I don't like, listen, I'm also not here to like guess what plots the governments have against us, do or don't have it. Like, I can't even begin to go down that. Like, I'm, you know, careful who you talk to sometimes because you can get with all this stuff, you can get real dark real fast.
yeah,
But yeah, just taking it as it comes, like turning over that like the helplessness and the like powerlessness and really knowing that I have power over one thing and it's my attitude.
yeah,
And that's it. That's all I got is like I can choose to be proud of how, you know, like how I behaved at home with my kids,
yeah,
how, you know, that's it. I can only just try to, you know, try to have a good attitude. And a lot of times it's hard. It's hard for owners, stylists, for everyone because there is so much unknown. How about you guys? What have you gotten from other salons? What are the like key things? Is it the unknown being the hardest?
yeah. I mean, we're seeing definitely like a lot of clever things. Everything from the color kits where
Yeah.
scheduling appointments to pick up the color kit at the salon so that there's no
Mm-hmm.
app to like delivery of the color kits to people's houses. You know, it's funny. Some are actually still transacting appointments, but the client isn't coming in, so they're saving the credit on the account for
Oh,
later.
okay.
So it's just like it's kind of a mixed bag across the board. I think it's hard with the different labor models of
Yeah.
employees versus contractors, and contractors really struggling. I think even more so than employees because they were kind of secondary to part of
Yeah, for the
the
benefits.
yeah
That, I mean, I will say like that's been that was something like when were finally like it was hard to know when to decide to close the doors.
yeah
Um, because again, split needs of there were some stylists that were like, no, I need to work. And there were some that are like, no, you know, I want to be safe. So we were
yeah
like, if you don't want to come in, don't come in. But again, if you don't close, you can't apply for, you know, work furlough benefits.
right
And for my biggest fear initially was I knew so many people who would be applying for unemployment. So I wanted to make sure that regulations were in place of the size allotments to fit, like for our business to be like not aligning with that
right
because I didn't want them to deny our claims because we were choosing to close. So there was that hard thing too because it wasn't clear for us of, you know, and with that back end not fun stuff, like
yeah
you really I can screw over your whole company if you make one false move. And
yeah
Oh, Elvira and I sat on, or Elvira mostly, sat on hold for 6 hours one day, 4 hours one day with the labor board just to try to get a question answered. And they were like, we don't know. You use your best judgment. So
It's true, and then yeah, like with the payroll protection policy and everything like that, like it's like we as even as a company, we're looking into that, and we chose to not move forward. We're like
yeah,
smaller businesses and people that are more in need.
yeah. But
Um,
even with those funds, like if you look into them, it's a tricky how you spend them, what's actually forgiven. There's a lot of, again, uncomfortable, contradictory language,
yeah,
that you're like,
there's a lot of risk.
depending on who's in office, when you go to get this forgiven, it might not be.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Again, with kind of the unknowns, right? It's like
yeah,
there's this unknown of like what's the future repercussions. But at the very least, I hope some of the bad actors, like I've been reading about a lot of abuse of the funds already, and I'm like,
yeah,
I hope they come down really harsh on those companies.
I think so. And I mean, I hope that that's what the like very gray language is for. Um, but yeah, and again too, like any remembering too, like any businesses that do get it, it's not a grant, it's a loan.
Right.
And the terms of it, from what I've read, are 2 years. So if
Yep.
you're getting a couple $100,000, that's $9,000 a month that you have to pay back.
Right.
And it's 6 months after you open. And it's like if we're approaching a recession, like all that, there's so many things to think about. I think that's, anybody, if any salon owners are watching that, to really do your math and know like what can you get away with not borrowing, like, because those are very real numbers. It's not just free money. And we hope a lot of people will be forgiven, but that time will tell with that too.
Yeah, and then you have the same landlord in both places, but we've
Yeah.
definitely heard of some landlords being um, stingy, but also some being extremely generous.
Yeah, that was the first call before we even shut. I just hit them up and was like, what are my options?
Yeah.
And they were going through the same thing. They had to close a bunch of my landlord's Urban Outfitters. So they closed all their businesses and they paid their employees. I don't know if you guys know this, but Urban Outfitters paid their employees during this time. So they didn't even furlough them. They just paid them what hours they were, scheduled to work. So I hit them up and I was like, what do we do? But again, I'm still on the hook for these months that I'm not paying. These aren't free months. They're like, yeah, you don't have to pay for these next 2 months or 3 months, but I have to figure out in the course of my loan how I'm going to pay for these, and with the abbreviated hours that are coming up, like we're not going to be able to bring in the money that we were able to before. So
Right.
just a lot left up in the air. And I will say, like with the hard choices, I'm lucky enough. I have a big enough team, and I work with a ton of really smart, clever people. And we lean inward, and we're like, all right, what do you guys think about this?
Right.
And how do you guys feel? And there's a handful that really speak up and like will reach out and be like, here's an article I found. I mean, I have a handful of stylists that have sent me some awesome resources, some great ideas that I'm like, oh, cool. So it really like expands our efforts when you lean into your team, I think, and are like, hey, what are you guys coming across? Because there's so much to read and there's so much bad information out there that if you can, like if you can ask for help from your team, I think that's really good. We're sending a survey out to our team in the next couple days, just to see where everybody's at, because we're supposed to, who knows, I think we'll have the hard number of when we're opening on maybe the 10th of next month or the 1st. We'll actually know if we can open on the 15th. But we want to know, like, there's going to be some, it was